going, everyone? And today, in this episode, we're going to start working on the mechanics on this jukebox. We have the mechanism up here, the record mechanism, up on the bench here, or up on table, whatever. There's our, over there's our jukebox all gutted out. We're going to get started on this. We're going to get this cleaned up and working and moving properly anyway. I'm not going to say working until we won't know until we plug it in and try it. And we'll get everything all cleaned up on this. Wish I could find that plastic cover. I'd love to have the cover just to protect this. But you know, and then we'll, as you can see, there's insulation and that all over this thing, and even inside the basket. You know, you've seen the mouse nest, or mouse hotel I should say, in the last video. Hell, this must have been their mouse resort. They came here and played on everything and then went and slept it off in the coin bucket. But we're going to get this cleaned up and moving, and then we'll start on our board, on our amplifier and power supply too. We need to take those apart just to make sure they're not full of vermin urine. So first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to take off the two motors. That motor that was laying in the bottom was an extra motor. We're going to take these off and surface both of those motors. There's the other one right there. We're going to remove both of those, and then we're going to put them on the bench and clean them up and re-grease them, check the packing on them, and see if there's any play, and see if we need to do anything to them. Because it's easier once those are out, then you can move everything freely without those two motors. And once I get that bottom motor out, we can move the basket and get all the records out of it so we don't screw them up when we're cleaning this. So first thing we're going to do, take off motors. Okay, there's 3 bolts on these motors. There's one on the top and then there's one on either side. And first we're going to see if we can find the plug for it, which is this one right here. And let me see if I can lift this up a little bit so I can get a hold of it. There we go. That doesn't look too healthy. Okay, that last one, I got it loosened up, but I had to use a nice long extension here here to get that sucker loosened up and out of there. And now that motor just comes right down out of the bottom. And like I said, this is not the original motor. It's a Rock-Ola motor, but that's not the one that belongs in here. I'm sure it'll work. But you can see they just twisted the wires together trying to figure out what the hell was wrong. That motor turns. Stiff as hell, but it turns. I'll put that on the bench. Set that on the table for now, and we'll get the other one off. Now the other one, it's the same thing. There's just 3 bolts. and you're not going to be able to see me doing anything, so I'll go ahead and take that one off. Okay, now that that bottom motor is out, now we can take out all the records that are in the basket, and all you need to do is take the weight off of the basket itself. Make sure your records aren't hanging up. They'll catch on this one metal bracket back there unless you push them in. Just push them in. Got one hanging up on something. And all I'm going to do is take them out. I'm not worried about where they go right at the moment. We got to go through all these records anyway. Yeah, it's the second one that keeps flying. Fell off. We're losing a few of our stickers that tell us what number the record is. What was that one? Banda Brava. Okay. Okay, so I'll finish getting these out, and then we'll be ready to go look at those motors. Okay, there's our 3 motors. These are the 2 that we took out of the jukebox, and this is the one that was laying down in the bottom. I thought that one was the original, but the more I look at it, no, it's not. Looks like they had this in another one too, because there's a red wire bugged to it. But you know, this is one that you can adjust the throw on it, the play in the gear. The one that they have in it that is the wrong, well, it's not the wrong one, it's one that will work. This one you can't adjust the play on it, so, but it's good, so we're lucky there. Now, do I go ahead and fix this up permanently? Which is really no big deal. We can get it fixed up like it should be. And since this isn't the other one, that's not the original motor, then I think we can put that off on the shelf as a spare. You can always remember that the one with the capacitor on it, it's a filter capacitor. This one actually filters the motor noise out of the amp. This must be tied close to the wires must be closer to the amp, and that'll suppress the noise. You won't pick up any motor noise through your amp. This one that drives the mech is never on while the record is playing. Neither is this one, but that's just the way it is. And what we can do here is I can go ahead and solder these together and heat shrink them and get it all cleaned up real nice. But first thing I want to do is I want to check our grease situation. I want to see how if we have any grease in our motors. Every time I have one of these out and apart, I always check these motors to make sure that they're full of grease and make sure the grease in it isn't all petrified. Let's see if we can... Yeah, we got a little bit down in there. Not a lot, but there's some. We'll put a little bit more in it. See how the grease is. Not too bad. A little stiff. Alright, let me find some grease. Alright, I got some white lithium grease. And we're just gonna pack that sucker right in there. Try and use white lithium. For about everything. It's a nice light grease and it doesn't get all hard and nasty. There we go. Put a little snot of it on the shaft. Oh. Here we go. Okay, one down, one to go. I'll go ahead and do this one. If I find anything out of the ordinary, I'll show you what's going on. Okay, we got our motors all cleaned up, repacked with grease. Now they're moving a lot easier. Went ahead and repaired that. Soldered the wires together and then heat shrink. So those two are both ready to go back in, but we're not going to put them back in until after we get this all cleaned up and everything moving. So we'll take off our platter and take a look at our pinch wheel. Still pretty soft, so that's okay. Our motor, yeah, she's pretty good too. Everything's a little gummy. Alright. Now, we'll take my favorite, my contact cleaner, and I'll get everything all sprayed down, soaking a little bit, and then we'll start cleaning up and freeing up some stuff. If you notice, I did get the carrier back up where it belongs. And what I worry about the most is there's a little slide dude down inside. Let me get over the other side and I'll show you. Let me move my tripod out of the way. Okay, see, there's a little slide mechanism. It's kind of hard to see. There's two grooves down in there. But it switches from one to the other, going from A side to B side. When it's B, this could be either way, I'm not sure, but when it slips over to one side, it comes up and trips this little switch down here telling the arm to go over, to flip the record over. That's why sometimes you'll see the carrier on one side or the other. It's switching from A side to B side or vice versa, whichever it is. I'm not totally positive which way it does work, but that got to make sure that groove and that little dude down in there is cleaned up really good. Put a little down on that motor, and I noticed there's some rust down on this one cam that we'll have to address. Hopefully we just have to oil it up and she'll be fine. Alright, get back over here. Well, that's getting smooth already. Yeah, where'd I leave my cleaner? I use this contact cleaner because it dissipates and goes away in time. Plus, I get it by the case. See, there's a hard spot, and I think it's right down in there. Right down in there on that cam. There's a pin that follows through that groove. Come all the way over and flip. Like so. And then lets the record go and the needle comes over. Needle goes back over. Picks up the record and slides it back in the slot, and I have it in the home position right at the moment. So I'll get this cleaned up. I'll put you in a tripod so you can watch what I do and get this cleaned up. It's kind of hard right now. My hands all gooey. I may even fast forward through this and let you listen to some polka music. Okay, there it is, all cleaned up. I mean, it's not spotless. So next we'll just let this sit overnight. It'll dry, it'll all evaporate out, and then we'll get her oiled up. Okay, there it is. It's all cleaned up. Everything's all freed up. You can see how well our mech moves now. It looks good. You know, it's not perfect, but you wouldn't be embarrassed to open the hood and show someone. At least it's all cleaned up. Looks good. Now, just want to kind of go back a little bit to when I was talking about your switch that moves your record from A side to B side. Right now, let's see, we'll stick a Rod Stewart down in there. And these pins right here on either side, there's one here and there's one right down in there. Those pins are what determine which way this arm is going to swing and lay the record down on your platter. Right now it's over to the other side. See, the little dog has switched from one groove to the other, pushing this up, switching this over, telling the machine that it's on. I think that should be B side, I think. Don't quote me on it now. It'll pick up the record, lay it down, which is a reason to believe. See, she'll take it over and set the needle down. Now we'll put her back in. Unlock that. I got to pull this out because it'll hit my little prop in the back there. Now remember, this is the way it goes in. It's all over now. As the basket turns, watch that pin. You'll make one full revolution, and then it switches right at the home position. Switches over. We'll go back to 173. We'll put Mr. Stewart back in. You can see it dropped, turning the switch off, moving the pin over to this side. Now it'll pick the record up and flip it over, and now it's on. It's all over now. And as you can see, the arm's on the other side. What happens is that little dog down inside there, dog, whatever you want to call it, it's a little slide mechanism that slides from one groove to the other, switching that pin over one way or the other. So you'll be using either that pin or the other pin on the other side, which makes your record flip over. I just wanted to let you know a little bit more about that, because if your Rock-Ola, this type of mechanism, is not flipping your record from A to B side, then you know where to look. I don't know if we can get down in there. There you can, I don't know if you can see the grooves up in there or not. And the little dog, there's the gap that it'll switch from side to side. See it? It's really hard. There he is. He's right down in there. You can see him. He'll slide from the top groove to the bottom groove. But like I said, if it's not switching from A side to B side, that's usually what it is that little guy's all gummed up and you got to get him cleaned up. So I hope that helps somebody. Just all in what you look for. Okay folks, it's the following evening and she dried off really nice. Looks good. Now we just need to get her oiled up. Take our platter off. And on these I use a light oil, like a 3-in-1. You don't have to get really you don't have to put heavy oil or grease on them. The 3-in-1 oil is a nice light oil, and it won't gum things up. You don't want to get overzealous with the oil. You just want to get everything lubed up. You put heavy oil on it, and when it gets cold, it's not going to want to move for a doodly squat. But as what I like to call it, Wiener Schlide. We got to put some Wiener Schlide on her. Everywhere that you see is a moving part. Take some white lithium grease and I'll put a little on these big gears. You don't have to get too carried away. Just a little bit. Snow falling out there. It's warm today, finally. It's in the 50s. We lost a lot of snow. And then on this groove, that's your tone arm, looks like I need a new swab. Same thing with your big gear down here. I'll just put a couple of dots of the white lithium grease on it, and then as the motor turns it, it'll spread it all around. You don't need, like I said, you don't need big gobs of it all over the place. You're just asking for it to collect dust and gum up. You want just enough. Same with the other gear on the other side that the motor runs up against. Just put a little bit on those, so as the motor turns, it'll spread it all around. You just have a nice light light coating of grease on them. Now I'm going to get it all over my fingers because I'm going to work on this a little. See, I keep hitting those, and they keep flicking off. So I got about 3 of them over there, and when it comes time, I'll put a little dot of contact cement on them and put them back down, as many as I have. I know there's a few of them that were missing when I got it. I probably sucked them up with the vacuum when I cleaned out the cabinet. Okay, now we're ready to put our motors back on this and get this finished up and ready to go back in. So let me go get the motors and find my screws, find my bolts, and I'll get them put in, and we'll be ready to put this back in the cabinet when we're ready, when the cabinet's ready for it to be put back in. Okay, there it is. Got the motors back in. And let's see, we serviced the motors, made sure there was grease in those. Both of them were a little dry, so we packed them back with grease, white lithium. We cleaned it all up, got all the old grease out of it, got everything all freed up, cleaned her up really nice, so she looks decent. Let's see, and then we oiled everything and checked on everything. Everything looks good, so we are ready to go back in the cabinet. We shouldn't have any problems with this mechanism as far as the mechanics wise goes. The only thing I could foresee having any problems with is this is the motor that had the bugged plug together. So that kind of tells me that they were having a problem with this motor not running the mech. Well, it could have been that it was too gummed up and it wouldn't move it enough. Or it was moving it so slow that it was kind of off kilter and not working properly. Or they didn't have any power running down to the motor. Could have been the control box or whatever. Okay, anyway. The only other thing is switches. We have our little switches on the back side here that tells a computer what position the mechanism is in. We got that little dog freed up under there, so now when the basket rolls, it'll switch from side A to side B. The only other thing is we could have a problem with our little sensor here counting, doing its thing here, or a micro switch. The micro switch just tells it here where it's in the home position. That's the only thing I could see. The mechanism itself is all freed and ready to go. It's in good shape now. So this video took a little longer than what I expected it to. I didn't know if we were how far into it we were gonna get on the mechanism. I thought maybe we could get it done and get to working on our amplifier and that and checking those out. Well, the video's been long enough, so this episode is going to be just everything about the mech. Done, completed, ready to go back in the box. So we'll set him off to the side and we'll work on some other stuff while we're working on the cabinet and the amplifier and power supply. So if you like the video, you like what I did, hit the like button. If you haven't subscribed already, subscribe to the channel and I'll bring you more cool pinball, jukebox, video game videos. So until next time, see ya.